All right, part 5 of our 7-part series to selling your home on your own. This one is a doozy. It's the contract. Okay, so we're going to say this now. We're going to say this probably in the middle and probably at the end. It would not be a bad idea to find a real estate attorney as this process comes to the table.
I will push you even further than that. Get a real estate attorney.
Yeah, so
it's not a bad idea. It's a must.
No matter what, don't ever answer questions that you don't know the answer to. Don't try to be an attorney. Don't pretend to be an attorney because there are legal ramifications for everything.
Yeah, get an attorney.
Okay, so we're going to get into the pieces of the contract. There is so much more that goes into it than just price. You list your house at 1.5, someone gives you 1.5. It does not end there. There's a lot of details to this.
Yeah, and again, price is really important, but it's not the only thing.
No.
There are so many small details that go into a contract. Price is the first thing everybody thinks about, but the other two most important, we're going to go through a few other ones as well, are the inspection contingency and the financing protection that buyers always want when they buy your home. And again, we're past the craze of everybody just throwing their kids at the house, throwing money and all that stuff. So most of the time, people will have this financing protection and inspection protection, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to go through those first, and then we'll kind of go through some other stuff. So what inspection protection means is somebody's going to write an offer, even if you did your own inspection. That's going to help a buyer be less concerned about their inspection protection. Right. So somebody's going to write an offer. They're going to say, we're going to give you $500,000 for your house, but we want to be able to do an inspection. And if we find anything that we don't like, we want to be able to walk away, or we want to be able to negotiate those things for you, right? So that may be in there, but what you don't want, and I think it's okay to allow somebody to do an inspection, especially when they're buying something so expensive.
Right.
But what you want to do, so somebody might say, well, I need 2 weeks to do my inspection, right? That's crazy, right? Make sure that the inspection that you're allowing them to do is just a few days. I mean, maybe a week at the most, but don't allow somebody, a buyer, to just say, hey, like, I need a month to do this inspection.
Right. They should do it pretty quickly after the offer has been accepted.
Yeah. So get that done. There may be things you need to fix, even though you thought you fixed everything, but be wary that inspections don't need to last forever. The second
piece, financing contingency.
Yeah, financing contingency. So what this allows somebody to do is, if we're buying a house right now and I happen to lose my job, or I don't get approved from my loan, then I can walk away from the transaction of buying the house with like no harm, no foul. Usually that doesn't happen. That's happened to me once over the years, and it was because it was somebody was buying their first house and they were self-employed and they didn't have any money coming in.
Okay.
Right. So that's it's very, very rare. But the financing piece is really important. So usually when you get your offer, you're going to get a letter from, it could be a bank or from a lender that says, John and Mary Johnson are approved to buy your house. The letter is only as good as the person who typed it up or wrote it. So there's going to be an email address and a phone number on the bottom of that. Call that person.
Reach out to them.
Find out as much as you can about where they're at in the process. And lenders can't share everything with you. They can't share like
they have this much money in their bank. And
yeah,
that kind of
or necessarily what they do for work and any of that. But find out as much as you can from the lender. And is it a slam dunk? Is this thing going to happen? Or have you known these guys for a long time? Did they just reach out to you yesterday to get this piece of paper and it really doesn't mean much? Find out as much as you can, and when you're going through that process, if you accept the offer, stay close to that lender, right? So you don't have to call them every day, but call them once a week. How are things going, man? Can you let me know where you're at in process with the loan? So if you're packing up and moving, which you should be doing at that point, right? That you know that the loan's going to close on time, because your house sale can't be complete unless the loan closes on time.
Okay, so what about the contingency if someone needs to sell their other house before they purchase your house?
Yeah, so
which happens a lot.
Yeah, so that's a home sale contingency. And again, if you went back 4 months ago in Washington,
people were waiving all this stuff.
Yeah, they're like, forget it. If I have to sell my house, you know what? I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
But so that's a contingency that's also important, because when you look at those details, right? And if somebody has a home contingency, and that may be normal, right, in your market. But what if the person who submits the offer puts their home on the market, and the offer they receive has a home contingency sale on it? So you got a double contingency. you want to make sure that all of those things are known to cover your butt. Because if you've already started packing and you're ready to move and the home contingency falls through. So for example,
for in Washington State, it's 45 days.
So, or if
meaning you have 45 days, the buyer has 45 days to sell their house to keep the contract valid.
Yeah, and
right?
you may extend that. That's completely up to you. But what if it takes 2 months, right? What if it takes 3 months and the market's really slow? Know the details beyond price.
Yeah.
What some people try to do is in the section of the offer in Washington State, somebody might say, you got to look into details. And this is why having an attorney help you is so important. They may say, I'm going to give you $500,000 for your house, and in small writing saying, but you're going to give me an extra $10,000 for my loan. And you've got to look really, really careful to understand that part of it. So again, hire an attorney. They will find that for you. But if you're doing it on your own, make sure you see those little things. I mean, that pops up. And because we comb through our documents and our offers and paperwork in such details, we see that stuff. But it's often enough, especially if you're selling your house on your own and a real estate broker writes it up, they may try to trick you.
Yeah. And then there's other small things like the negotiables. So closing date is one of those. Typically we see 30-day closing date, but actually more frequently we're seeing people wanting a rent back, or they're wanting an extended closing date, or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so rent back, and that may be okay. It may be like, hey, I want my $500,000 for selling my house, but you need to stay for an extra 2 weeks. Maybe you have to pay for those 2 weeks that you stay. Maybe you can ask for them for free. There are different ways to getting around that, but all of those details are going to be a part of the contract.
Yeah, and then there's the negotiables like appliances and furniture and
should you leave
trampoline or whatever else you have sitting in your house and your lawn that a buyer might want.
Yeah, and appliances are very normal to leave. Most people don't take their washer and dryer, and they don't take their refrigerator. They leave all that stuff. So you may be if you happen to have just bought brand new washer and dryer, you have to let them know, because in the offer they will state whether they want those things and expect those things. And if it's in the offer, you need to leave. If your buyers are getting a loan, right? The bank's going to say, the bank's going to hire an appraiser that the buyers actually pay for. So this doesn't come out of your pocket. So if the bank comes out and the offer on your house is $500,000, right? And the bank comes out and says, I know they're willing to pay $500,000, but it's only worth $450,000. So what happens then? And that's an important thing to know. So if your buyers come back and say, hey, I know we offered $500,000, but the appraiser only says it's worth $450,000, then the buyers have some choices. One, you could say, sorry, I only want $500,000. And the buyers could say, yep, that's okay. Then they have to come up with an extra $50,000 to pay the bank.
Yep.
So that's one option. Another option is they could say, yeah, forget it, I'm going to walk away.
And that is a way that they can get out of the deal.
Yep. Or there could be some middle ground saying, you know what, I really love your house. I don't have the $50,000, but what if I come up with 20 or 25 grand? It's really important to know, and this is usually part of the financing protection that the appraisal falls under, but just know that that's in there, and be aware that when you're talking to that lender every week that you're asking, has the appraisal happened, and is it at the value of the offer?
What did it appraise at?
Yeah, really important.
So just high level, 7% of real estate contracts are canceled because of a lot of these contingencies: appraisal, inspection, financing. So just make sure you're fully aware of all the details in that contract. And we will close this out by saying the same thing we said at the beginning: get a real estate attorney, because this stuff is really complicated and there are legal ramifications for a lot of mistakes that happen. So you don't want to overlook anything or just try to skate over something. Do it the right way.
And you don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.